Hey guys, a little something different for you this week. This is the first video since my accident video, and so many new people have joined our channel. I mean, literally, we're overwhelmed with your positive feedback and well wishes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But we realize how many people don't know us now that this has happened, and how many people that have been following us probably don't know us that well either, about how we got to the point where we're in our lives where we sold everything and went to live in an RV, having never RV'd before in our lives. So this video is just to introduce us to you and tell a little bit of our story. Pretty simple.
Yeah. So we're Barry and Darlene Nicholson. We're originally from Sarasota, Florida. That's where we lived prior to full-time RVing. It's been about 2 years now. As we film this, it's actually August of 2024, and August of 2022 is when we
started.
We left Florida, and our first trip was to take our daughter off to college. We became empty nesters. She went up to Northern Ohio, to Oberlin College up there, and so that was our first journey. And it was really our first journey RVing, period.
Yeah. It was an eye-opener. Anytime anybody who's never RV'd before, that first RV experience is a lesson learner. It toughens you up.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk a lot about our RV travels here soon. But what I thought we would do, because for those of you who've been watching our channel for a while, we're going to be kind of rehashing some information you probably already know. But I think what might be a little fun with this video would be to cover some things that we've never talked about our history, which is long, because I'm to the point now where I say when we've been married 30 some years, because I really don't remember.
He doesn't
the number.
remember. Yeah, it's.
Do you?
35.
No.
Yeah.
No. We got married in 1992.
Someone do the math. I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah.
No, I'm medicated, so I don't know what his excuse is. So.
Yeah. So
we met when I was 15 and he was 16.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously we were high school sweethearts. We did not go to the same high school. We are originally from Evansville, Indiana. Both born and raised there. Small town in southern Indiana, kind of the border of Kentucky. And I was a year older than her, obviously, and went to the school across town. And
he was an East Sider.
Yeah. For those of you, if you're watching and you happen to be from Evansville, Indiana, you're probably chuckling right now, because she was a North Sider. Because an East Sider could never marry a West Sider.
We digress. It's probably not interesting to most people. But the thing is, we have been together a very long time. We grew up together. We got married. We were 20 and he was 21. And we very quickly left Evansville, Indiana.
Yeah. So we've been sort of nomads a lot of our life.
Mm-hmm.
We both dropped out of college, which was not a good idea, looking back on it. But it is what it is. And we ended up, so we had all this college debt and no college degrees to show for it. We were just kind of going to the local college across town. Neither one of us had much direction, but we just know that we wanted to be together, and we had dated for.
And part of this is Barry has always been a musician, so he's always been in bands. When we met, he was in a Christian rock band in our church, and
which was scandalous in the 1980s. Yes, this was the 1980s.
So we knew he wanted to pursue music, and we had friends that lived in Dallas, Texas. So off we went, and we did the band thing in Dallas. They had decent success for a local band in that area at that time.
Yeah, I mean, this is for those of you music people. I'm a total music nut still. I listen to music every single day, even still. I love all different types of music. I did kind of leave the Christian rock thing in Indiana. So when we went off to Texas, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go try to get a record deal and get famous. And this is at the time in the early 90s when things were blowing up. I mean, things were, the grunge era,
hit. Yeah,
like
it was big.
Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, all those were hitting big. And in Seattle, we just happened to know somebody in Dallas that's how we ended up there.
Yeah.
But I was at the band. We were doing like real heavy metal / alternative kind of stuff. I play bass guitar and sing lead. Although I didn't sing lead in that band, but
Yeah. So that band, long story longer, we moved us to LA.
Yeah, this would have been around
Yeah.
1995.
Big, yucky mistake.
Yeah, a series of mistakes, but so the band, for a number of reasons, the band was kind of forced to move to Los Angeles, and so that's what we did, and that was a pretty crappy time of life because we had no money, and at the time, actually, Los Angeles wasn't doing much musically.
So we ended up being there for a little while, and we ended up separating for a little while. So for about 6 months, I went back to Indiana. He stuck it out in LA. And, when you're faced with those kind of, we were young, we were still learning how to be married. And, I think we both had separate agendas, and it just was a time where we had that decision to make. Do we fight this out? Do we fight for our marriage? Or do we just throw it away and start over? And in the end, we loved each other. It was just more situational and just getting on track. And so we decided to fight for it. So we did get back together. We moved back to Dallas. I don't even think we knew where to go at that point.
We just knew that we didn't want to move back to Indiana. That was kind of like, that was been too
we
much
were fighting it. No, we can't go back to Indiana. But we eventually did. We were broke. We were trying to get pregnant. We were trying to have our first baby. Nothing was going our way. My sister offered us her house to live in, and off we went back to Indiana. And it worked. We were pregnant within 1 month.
Got pregnant within a month.
So we had our son there, and eventually our daughter, and we stayed there for quite a while. I think we left there in 2008. Yeah. So I had some health issues that came up, and that's just too long of a story to tell. But I basically was suffering every winter terribly. And we knew I didn't suffer in the summer when my immune system was happy. So we moved to Florida so we could be in summer all the time. And it worked for a long time. So off we went. We took our kids to Florida. We lived there and we raised them there. We were there 16 years, I think. First kind of up towards Tampa and then eventually to Sarasota, where we raised both of our kids. In fact, our son still lives there today. So we have a son who's 25 now, and our daughter is 20 and in her third year of college up in Oberlin, Ohio. So we became empty nesters, and that's when our real RV story kind of begins.
But I think we should probably back up a little bit, though. I mean, because I was also in a band. I started a band in Sarasota around 2013, and it actually did very well. It was a completely different style of band. We were like a 8-piece funk band with a horn section. I was real into that kind of music at the time, still am, and played bass, sang lead, and I was also the band leader, because the whole thing was sort of my concept. And so I got to be with the band. It was pretty popular, but I still had a regular day job. Always had a regular day job. Still have one. And but we were playing. The band was playing gigs every weekend somewhere. And then the more popular we got, the more we kind of spread out. We were driving an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes to get to gigs. And then Darlene was going to swim meets every weekend with our daughter because she was in a very serious swim program and that's a year-round commitment. They don't really.
It's not like a school team, or she was on that as well, so that was a separate team. But this is a club team, and anybody who does club sports with their kids know the commitment level on that is very high. So we were all over the state of Florida, going to swim meets all weekend in the heat. It was a huge commitment, but it was a big part of her life and our lives. So while he was gigging, that's kind of what I was doing. And before that, our son was in marching band, so that was another whole thing.
yeah. So that, I tell you all that to kind of, it kind of led to our decision to full-time RV because, and I think we have to mention the pandemic.
Yeah.
That was obviously it was a huge deal for everybody. We were able to still work, thankfully.
And if we haven't said what we do, we are both digital marketing managers.
Yeah. I mean, I work for actually a fishing related company. actually during the pandemic, I got into fishing, saltwater fishing in Florida because there was nothing else to do, frankly, So I just got into it, and then I really liked this company that I was actually a customer of. One thing led to another, and I went to work for the company. It's been great, and we both work from home. Darlene and I have worked from home in marketing really since 2006.
Yeah,
I mean, a long time.
Yeah, we're like the OGs of remote work. Marketing is in our blood. It's what we do, and it's what I did until February when I was laid off. So I kind of turned all my sights to this channel and some remote work, here and there. But yeah, that's kind of how we can travel around the country and do what we do. It's because we've always done it that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, really, as soon as we figured out that, obviously, just like most RVers, I think just in general are going to research the internet options. And right around the time Starlink was just on the cusp of being released. So, but there were a lot of other choices before Starlink. It was just, frankly, it was the best. So, so when we discovered that, yes, absolutely, you could be on the road, literally in the middle of nowhere, and get good good internet signal, I was like, wow, okay, so that checks that major thing off the box, right? Okay, so the pandemic happened, and then obviously we were able to keep our jobs, thankfully. Our daughter obviously had to go to she was finishing out high school. It really sucked for her.
It was terrible.
She didn't get to go to a regular prom or any of that kind of stuff. Our son ended up having to come home from college. He was on the other side of the state at Florida Atlantic University. He had to come home. So we had to survive kind of like that.
Like everybody did.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just telling you this to kind of talk about what led up to the decision for us to full-time RV. And so my band, which had been playing every weekend hot and heavy for, at that point, probably 7 years, went from to no gigs at all.
Yeah. And they were very popular. He doesn't ever talk about how, packed houses, it was a big deal, but they were at the height when it got shut down.
Yeah, we were just starting to. We actually because we did do original music as well as cover band stuff, and we had released some original music that was actually starting to get a lot of notoriety around the country. But during that 8-month down period, a lot of things changed just in general. And one thing that really happened when things kind of opened back up is that property values in Florida went through the roof. But
everybody was coming to Florida.
Everybody was talking about selling their house because all of a sudden their home values were skyrocketing. But the big joke was, yeah, but if you sell your house, how are you going to buy another one? Because everybody else is selling their house.
Yeah. Where are you going to go?
An exorbitant amount. And I just remember somebody, maybe she or somebody in my band was just like, well, just buy an RV.
And that's how it started.
And I thought,
he came home and he mentioned it. And then I think my head just started spinning, and I started watching every YouTube video I could on this whole RV thing. And I mean, I was just like, I still have the notepads of notes I took about just everything I felt I needed to know before we even really had the discussion. And then I showed him a television show, and we were watching it and about RVing, and we were like, could we really do this? Yeah. And then it just snowballed from there, and we realized, yes, we can do this. Because I think when it comes to making this kind of move like we did, we weren't going to be able to keep our sticks and bricks and do this at the same time. We weren't going to financially be able to do that. So we knew we had to sell, and we wanted to sell because we were going to make good money off the sale of the house, but we weren't quite sure. So for the first year, we leased our house. And at the time, so many people were moving to Florida. The lease, we got great money for a lease for a year. And then we couldn't get that again. And so we ended up selling that house. But we still came out ahead in that whole kind of thing. But what I just figured out is the more research I did, the more I felt more and more confident. Again, we had never even camped. The only RV experience we had was my parents had a couple different RVs while we were dating. And
in the 80s.
and it wasn't great. It was not great. My parents were not good RVers.
No.
So we were both like, had that in the back of our head. But when we started researching, when we started going and looking at RVs, when we started thinking about doing the numbers, and we're like, we can do this. We can still work. We can travel, see the country like we would never have had enough vacation time to ever see the places that we've already seen in 2 years. And we could do it. We just had to figure it out, you know. So that's where the journey began. And it was about, did we do it about a year out? I think the research started about a year out. We bought our RV at the Tampa RV show, and that would have been January. We didn't take possession of that RV until like, I don't know, March or April.
Yeah, we pushed off the possession of it. They actually agreed to hold on to it. We bought it from...
We didn't even have a truck.
No, we didn't have a truck. In fact, the truck was much harder to find than the RV.
Yeah.
Let's back up, though, a little bit, because there was a huge mind shift, you know, of becoming a nomad. I mean, because what you're essentially doing is you're basically saying, okay, yes, I want to go do this thing, this lifestyle, be this full-time RVer thing. What that also means is you're going to leave. We were going to leave Sarasota, which we had lived for, you know, 15 years at that point. Obviously knew tons of people, had lots of friends. I had my band. You know, my band was such a huge part of my life. I think the pandemic probably didn't just do me in mentally, but it was hard. I mean, it was because.
But it was hard on us too, as the band demanded a lot. It was his second full-time job. He had basically 2 full-time jobs: the one he worked, and then the band. And it was a lot on the family. It was a lot on our relationship. And I remember thinking, when we were looking at the empty nest and the daughter leaving, who is my best friend, basically, I was like, oh God, I'm going to be home alone every freaking weekend night while he's out playing. And I was not cool with that.
No.
So it was one of those where he was either going to need to slow it down, which is probably not going to go over very well, especially with some of the other band members, and it wasn't going to solve the problem. So I think we started going, what do we want? For our life? What is this it? Are we just going to stay in Sarasota and keep doing the same thing that we always did? Or are we ready for something new and something fresh and something interesting? And so we've always kind of been those people. But we had settled in Sarasota, but I don't know that either one of us were super happy about it.
You're right. I mean, you play it out in your mind. You know, like, okay, if I keep continuing down this road, what's it going to be like? You know, are the gigs going to get any better? Am I going to like somehow get famous? Come on, man. I'm like, at the time I was 51, 52 years old, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Where am I going with this? I'm not in my 20s anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I moved to LA to give that a shot. That didn't work out. You know, so I did have to think about, but I was also not one to want to wait to retire. I mean, even when we moved to Florida, yes, we absolutely did that because of Darlene's health condition, which maybe someday she'll make a video about because it's actually kind of interesting. But when we made that move, it was also, you know, we told our friends in Indiana that we were moving to Florida, and they were like, why?
Yeah.
And we thought, why not?
But we come from the land of, you're born, you're raised there, you raise your kids there, you live there, you never move away from your family, you never do anything. It's the Midwest, it's the Indiana thing. We're not from a small town, but that's kind of the vibe, is that most people don't go away from that. And we've always been the ones to go away from that.
Yeah, I mean, it was Dallas to LA, back to Indiana, to Florida.
Yeah, it was time for, and I loved our time in Florida, but that time was over. And we'll never move back. But now that we're on the road, we're seeing all of these different places across the country. And you do find a couple that you go, we need to go back and spend more time there. You know, because people ask us all the time, how long are you going to stay on the road? How long are you going to do that? I think my mom thought it was a year and we'd be done with it. Sorry, Mom.
Well, her experience with her husband, you know, that was, I could see why she would think that.
But yeah, so, you know, we don't know the answer to that. You know, what we did, just so you know, because people ask us all the time, is we took that money from the sale of our house and we invested it in different ways so that it's safe and it's growing for us. And by the time that we're ready to come off the road, we have a great start at whatever we go into, whether that'll be another house, whether that will be a place to park the RV that's a little bit more hours and permanent. I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. So, I mean, at this point, we're 2 years into a journey that may be years and years and years. I guess we'll know when we know, but we are truly enjoying going around the country and seeing these places that are just, I love small towns now. I never thought I would. I love the mountains now, but I don't like to be cold, so that's an issue. So it's an incredible lifestyle, not without its challenges. That happens, and it's part of the lifestyle. We've talked about it a lot in our videos. If you're new to our channel, I think the kind of thing that sets us apart from some of the other channels, because there's a lot of channels, especially in the RV niche. We do day in the life, like, hey, we're in this place and here's the cool things we did. We do that sometimes, but we also try to be very honest and real about the struggles of this lifestyle. We are never try to be negative. That's not, I hate that clickbaity crap. Like, really, I hate it. So
even as marketers, we have a love-hate affair with clickbait.
Like, no, don't go there. But we do like to show the challenges. I mean, we've talked about relationship challenges.
Yeah.
Obviously this, if you haven't watched the video on the accident, just go watch it. I'm not going to tell you about it. It happened very recently. It could have happened in a regular house. It's just stuff happens, life happens. And this isn't going to make us stop doing what we do. It's just going to slow us down a bit. And that's the thing. RVs break. I mean, we got here and like 2 things broke, like as soon as we got here. And it was just like, really? But you just have to go, we'll fix it when we fix it. It'll be fine. So it's a whole mindset. If you're going to go full time, you got to let a lot of things go. You got to roll with it. You got to not overreact. You got to not take it out on your partner. And these are things that we love to share with you guys, that frankly, there's a lot of channels that they put those rose glasses on. It's all Instagrammy, all perfect, and it's not.
I'm not even on Instagram.
I know he's not. He doesn't do social on his phone at all. So if you do follow us on Instagram or Facebook, it's me. But that is what sets us apart a little bit from the rest. And again, not negative in any way, but also very real. We're never going to hide our problems from you, but we're probably going to share our problems with you, because we want you to know what it's like if you get out there and you do this thing full time, that you go in with eyes wide open and are prepared for maybe whatever comes your way.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. There are some channels out there where they've been blessed. They've done great jobs and they've built up huge followings, and they're probably able to essentially live off the income that they get from YouTube or whatever. That's awesome. I think I
do too. I admire so many of them.
That's America.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the American dream, right? We don't live that. I mean, we still very much have to work. And when Darlene lost her job, that was a big deal, because we really had to, tighten up. We never thought we were going to have to come off the road. I mean, we just debated. The big concern was whether or not, are you going to just go out and get another job?
Yeah.
Or are we going to give this YouTube thing and really make it?
Yeah. So we kind of gave ourselves a few months with me all in on the YouTube channel, which, y'all, if you don't know, it is more than a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
It is crazy the amount of time and effort that goes into every single video, and then just dealing with, as we grow, all the things that come with it. It's all great, and I really enjoy it. And I've really enjoyed the interaction I've been having with people, what I consider our community now. That's really feeling like it's growing and it's becoming something. And because for a long time we were just us on the road, and we felt, we didn't have people. We didn't have we're fans of other channels and we're part of some of their groups, but this has really shown us that we have found very like-minded people like us, like you guys out there. And we've really enjoyed getting your feedback in the comments. And a lot of you have messaged me through social and through our website and everything. And that's been amazing. So this thing is our go. I mean, we're in it. We're in it for you guys. We're in it to create this content. We love hearing what you want to know about. Yeah, that's been great. We've had a lot of people, a lot of you are either just getting on the road or weekend warriors, family people just going out here and there a couple months in the summer, and you're just curious about the whole full-time lifestyle. Like, how do we manage things? How do we do things? And we've loved getting your questions because we've actually created videos from your questions. So that's a big part of what we're about, as well as the fun adventure stuff too. So.
Yeah, but just know that we're different in that we're not able to travel like some of the other YouTubers will travel, like it seems like every other day or every few days. They're going somewhere else. That's why they put a lot of mileage on their rigs and frankly have a lot more problems, I guess. Maybe we'll get there at some point. Yeah, more problems. But so we pretty much we try to stay places 2 weeks at a time just because moving is a pain.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of crap that I have to pack up in the back of the toy hauler. In fact, we made a whole video about it. And I don't like doing that too often.
And when you stay at places longer, you get to really get the feel for the community and the people and what's going on in the area. You can see if they have events coming up. When you're there 2 days and you're out, you don't get to do that. And so that's our style of traveling. Again, we're not retired. We're not like, we can't go out all day, every day on a Tuesday and go adventuring. We're limited to the evenings and the weekends when we're not working. So we are a little different in that way. But I think it's great for people who are going to be going on the road and maybe still working, or some of you still working. That's why one of our top videos was remote jobs. And I'm actually working on a follow-up to that. I've gotten really good information recently on all new types of remote jobs that people can do from the road. So I'm really looking forward to bringing that one to you soon.
Because if you're thinking about doing this lifestyle and you still have a full-time job, but it's a job that you think that you could take on the road with you, I mean, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to get going. We've obviously done it. But one thing that I would encourage you to think about is, what is your life going to be like in the next 5 years if you don't do it? Are you pretty much just going to sit around and watch TV every night during the week, and
you get in that rut
on weekends maybe go out to dinner or whatever it is that you do on weekends? It's not really going to change. I mean, that's the major takeaway. With as stressful as this life can be, and it absolutely can be, with travel, because sometimes I'm bummed that it seems, because if we move every other week, that means the weekend on that second week is kind of dictated by moving.
We lose a day.
Yeah, we essentially, there's a pack up. We got a lot to pack up. Then we got to drive. We got to set up and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically 2 big weekends out of the month. If we're lucky, if it doesn't rain, we can get out there and we can go do stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say that, if you compare that to where you're living your life, if you're not really doing much anyway, why not go do it and seeing a mountain that you've never seen, or visit an area that you never thought you would ever visit? That to us is what full-time RV living is.
Yeah. And on another note, I mean, I've talked about this in some of our other videos, is that, my parents worked their fingers off to the bone all their lives, factory work, hard work, to reach retirement, right? That's all I ever heard was as a kid was working for retirement, and they did, and they made it there. And then, they didn't get it very long before my dad got sick and passed away. And it was that was one of the motivating factors for me when we were deciding to do this. I was like, are we going to wait for retirement, or are we going to do it now? And that's what a lot of, and people have grandchildren, they don't want to leave. And I totally get that. We don't have that. I get you. But we've never shied away from the adventure. We've never shied away from the big move, the hard decisions, So this to me was just, let's do it now while we still have our health. Just don't fall off patios. That'll help you. And let's see this country while we can, while we're physically able to climb those mountains, while we're doing well. It's just like, and we can do it into our retirement too. But I didn't want to wait anymore.
Kind of talking to you, whoever you are, if you're sitting there going, well, I do have a remote job, I could do this, I'm just scared, I'm just nervous. Yeah. But if you really have the desire to do this,
You can do it.
Make it happen.
We have a lot of cool stuff coming up in the near future. This is not slowing us down. Thank you to all of you, because I really wasn't sure if I was going to put it on camera much anymore, because I just thought this was so awkward. But
It is.
But a lot of you really encouraged me to do so. So for now, I'll do some here and there. But we have we have our whole Laramie experience that we're going to share with you
before
the accident. And then we have some really cool, some good topics coming that I think are very important about the dangers of RV life, of full-time RV life. Not just falling off your patio, but there's some other things you need to keep in mind if you're going to do this lifestyle, to do it safely and make sure you're covered in all the bases. So we have a lot of good stuff coming, and we just felt compelled to make this because so many of you were new, and we wanted to welcome you into our community by sharing who we are. And those of you who have been following us from the beginning, we're so thankful for you. And so we hope you learned a little bit more about who we are. And we can't wait to share more and do more very soon. And yeah.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Are you going to be on the video today, Hugo? Huh? Everybody loves to see Hugo. He's so handsome. See? Look at the peoples. Look. See? Show them how handsome you are. Handsome Hugo. Handsome Hurricane Hugo. That's what we call him.